These tips and tricks that I'm about to share with you will save you hours while editing or color grading within Davinci Resolve. We'll look at some of the features and shortcuts within the software that would revolutionize your editing workflow and dramatically increase your speed. Now, while the level of impact will depend on your current skill level, by the end of this video, you are guaranteed to see some improvement. Customize and use keyboard shortcuts. Veteran film editor Walter Murch, who worked on classic movies like The Conversation and Apocalypse Now, proposed a rule of 6 in his book In the Blink of an Eye, and one of these rules is cutting with rhythm. Editing is often a rhythm-based process where quick decisions lead to fluid creative work, and using shortcuts, supports this flow by eliminating distracting pauses, especially when you're trying to locate menu items. Studies have shown that using keyboard shortcuts can sometimes reduce editing time by up to 30 to 50%, making your video editing significantly faster depending on the complexity of the project and how skilled you are using those shortcuts. And this makes a lot of sense because a number of things happen when you do this. Number one is you depend less on your mouse or your trackpad. Relying heavily on a mouse can slow down your work, especially when doing repetitive tasks. Moving back and forth between the timeline and other parts of the interface can very quickly become tedious and inefficient. And so with these shortcuts, you are able to maintain good hand positioning, you are able to reduce the strain on your body from repetitive movements, and also, you're able to improve the overall rhythm of your editing. Now, the second thing that happens when you use shortcuts is that you are able to make quicker editing decisions. So with shortcuts, common actions like cutting, which is Control or Command K, depending on whether you're using a Windows or a Mac system, or trimming, which is Q and W for ripple trims, can be done instantly and very quickly with or without a mouse. And you can always take it a step further by customizing it to fit your own needs. For example, my trims are actually Q and E, and then my own cut is actually W. So I have my 3 fingers constantly on those 3 things, and that makes my editing significantly faster. So you can take advantage of this customization to save you loads of time and improve on your speed. Personally, I use the Logitech MX Master 3S, which has extra buttons that I've customized as shortcuts. So as you can see, there are numerous benefits to adopting keyboard shortcuts into your workflow, and I think if you're really serious about improving the speed of your editing, you really should start using them. If you like this content, please take a moment to subscribe and drop a comment. Thank you. Smart cache and optimized media for smoother playback. Now, when working with certain complex video formats and high resolution or high quality footage, Davinci Resolve might slow down, especially during playback. That's because these codecs are not editing codecs or editing formats like ProRes or DNX HD. These are more of display codecs or storage codecs, for example, H.265. It will be really demanding on your system. For example, Vashi Nedomansky, ACE, edited an entire movie called 6 Below using original Red 6K Dragon files without converting them to easier to edit format. Now, he was able to do this because he had a very powerful computer system. His setup included a custom-made Dell Precision Tower 7910 with 20 core processors, 128 gig of memory, and a high-end NVIDIA Quadro M6000 graphics card. A similar system today would cost between $6,000 to $12,000. That is quite expensive, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us do not own or have access to such powerful systems. And so the solution is to use the Smart Cache or the optimized media feature within Davinci Resolve. And to turn this on, you just go to the playback menu, select render cache, and make sure that the smart option is selected. Now, here's what this feature does. The Smart Cache feature actually pre-processes parts of your timeline that it knows is going to demand a lot of computer power. And so this would now allow for smoother playback and quicker editing. Now, the optimized media feature, on the other hand, converts your footage into a format that is easier for your computer to handle, which now leads to easier and smoother and quicker editing. And then when it's time to finish your project, it automatically connects back to your high quality footage. And so these features are really helpful if your system system isn't very powerful. You're still going to be able to edit high quality, high resolution footage without constant slowdowns, by the software. Bear in mind though that when the project is done and when it's time to render, it will take a little longer because your system will still have to process these high quality images. But the bulk of the editing, which is where the speed is really needed, would have been, done by then. Use adjustment clips for quick color grading and effect. Now, a clear sign of a beginner is when you apply color grading and effect to each clip separately on your timeline. Now, this approach would waste a lot of time and it is not efficient. Now, here's a better way to do it. Instead of working on clips one by one, use an adjustment clip. Place this adjustment clip above your timeline and apply your color corrections or effects to it. All the clips below it automatically get the same look and effect. Now, this method is a huge time saver, especially when you want the same look or effect across multiple clips. A personal trick that I use is that I always apply a gentle zoom to a lot of my clips, but rather than applying it to each of the clips, I just apply it to an adjustment clip, and once I place it above whatever clip that is, whether it's a B-roll or an A-roll, that gentle zoom is applied to all the clips below that particular adjustment clip. This simple technique has saved me hours in editing, and it will save you hours as well if you start to adopt this. Power bins for reusable assets. The very act of having to re-import assets that you use all the time, for example, logos, graphics, the very act of having to re-import them every single time you're starting a project can be time consuming. The solution to this is to use power bins. You want to use these power bins to keep your most often used assets like logos, intro graphics, sound effects, music, etc. These power bins and the assets within them can be seen across all the projects within Davinci Resolve, so you wouldn't need to always re-import these assets whenever you're starting a new project. This saves you a lot of time in setting up and organizing your files for each project. Now, here's how to use them, because by default you would not see them on your interface. First, open up your media pool, then click the three dots in the top right corner. Finally, choose Show Power Bins. Now, once you do this, whatever assets you put into those power bins will show up across all your projects, whether it's a new project or whether it's an old project. This means you won't have to waste time looking for these assets and having to constantly re-import them into your software. And so when you start incorporating these 4 simple tips into your editing workflow, you would find that Davinci Resolve is capable of handling some very complex tasks quite quickly and efficiently. And this will help you to spend more time on the creative aspect of editing as opposed to the repetitive actions.